Welcome to Unapologetically Sensitive, a place to find connection and a sense of belonging, where you can learn, relate, laugh, and maybe even live a bolder, brighter life. I'm your host, Patricia Young. This is a weekly podcast where we talk about sensitivity and the richness that it adds, the strengths we have because of our sensitivity, and some of the challenges it poses as well. The information in this podcast is not a substitute for help from a licensed mental health professional. Hey there. As we're heading into the holiday season, I'm really thinking ahead and wanting to be mindful and provide some content on how can we take care of ourselves during this holiday season. Regardless of which holiday you celebrate, I'm really trying to think about content that's going to help us try and navigate a holiday season that we can reduce the amount of overwhelm and overstimulation and really try and get clear on what it is that's going to work for us so that we can really fully show up for the people that we love and care about. I recognize that this isn't possible for everybody, that we often have lots of expectations. We've got family members and roles and responsibilities. I want to provide a follow-up if you listen to episode 47 with Jill Johnson Young, where we talk about 20 plus ways to manage change and loss through the holidays. We talked about how we can simplify the holidays, and what I'm going to do in this episode is talk to you about the changes that I'm making this holiday season, how I navigated that, what it was like communicating with family, and at the end of this, I'm going to replay I lost my shirt on Thanksgiving, and it's not about the gravy, which is a perfect example of what happens when we don't know how to take care of ourselves. The pressure builds up and something really minor happens and we kind of lose our shirt over it. If you listen to bonus episode 47, we generally have people over to our house for Thanksgiving. It's not huge. It varies year to year. Because one of my sons is away at college and he works the day before Thanksgiving, he works the day after Thanksgiving, he's only able to come in and really spend one full day with us. He'll be here Wednesday night and Thursday all day, and then Friday morning he has to leave, and his girlfriend is coming with him. I really got clear that I don't get enough time with him now that he's away at college and now that he's working. We just don't get to see him as much, and I really wanted to take the pressure off and to just enjoy having my immediate family. And I'm feeling like it's a great decision. And in the episode that I recorded with Jill, I said, well, I'm going to have to let everybody know that this is what I'm doing. And I've been in a really quiet, introverted space, and I really do not like making phone calls when I'm feeling more quiet and introverted. And she had said, like, it's okay to send a text or post on Facebook or send an email, which again gave me such a sense of relief because I've got this rule in my head that you have to pick up the phone if you're going to give somebody that kind of information. So I ended up sending a text to one of the people that comes over. And what we're doing is on Saturday after Thanksgiving, we're having the rest of the family that normally wouldn't come over to come over for pie and coffee. So we get a chance to visit, but I can't tell you how much relief I have. And it's interesting as I'm looking around the house. I've told you I'm not an exemplary housekeeper. I don't live in squalor and it's not terrible. But every year around this time, I start looking at all the things that I have to clean because family's coming over. And because my son and his girlfriend have been here visiting, I'm not feeling that pressure. And it's kind of like, oh, we're just going to cook some dishes on Thursday and it'll be really nice. I can't tell you the level of stress that I'm not experiencing. And it really was a challenge for me. I had so much projection of how people were going to respond with me not inviting them. And the truth is, they may have chosen not to come because they have other things that are going on. But I think that we tend to worry that people are going to feel hurt or they're going to feel insulted or they're going to get angry or disappointed with us. And a lot has been coming up recently around boundaries. And I think we have this idea that if we set a boundary, we're going to feel relief, we're going to feel good. And if we set a boundary and we have some discomfort, we feel like we failed. Boundaries take a lot of practice. And in some areas, boundaries get easier and easier. In other areas, they may still be challenging. And what my experience is that people would rather sit with the discomfort of not getting their needs met, having people step on their toes, being in situations or environments or around people that they don't want, because at least that's a known discomfort that's way more comfortable. Oftentimes as highly sensitive people, because we have more mirror neurons, because we feel more empathy, We get over aroused easily. The thought of having to set a boundary with someone and the potential conflict that can come from that overrides our need to take care of ourselves. So it's easier for me to feel discomfort or resentment as opposed to setting a limit and taking care of myself. What I've been working on with the HSP online courses is we've been talking about, it's really about the process of setting boundaries. And are you willing to experience a new kind of discomfort in setting that boundary and be mindful about what comes up to set a boundary with kindness and firmness, and to know that you may not feel better about it, but it's about the process. And the more we learn to do that and are in the process, the easier it will become. And so I will be talking more about this in future episodes. And I had it come up for me feeling like, oh, what if I tell people they can't come on Thanksgiving and they get upset? Well, if they do, they do. And this is what is really going to work for our family this year. As I was listening to the episode that you'll hear when I'm done talking from last year, was really reflecting on my mom was going through some major health challenges. It had been going on for well over a month. She, at that time, had stopped driving, which meant that she needed transportation. She had a lot of medical appointments. I was going with her to oversee her care. The outcome we were afraid was going to be very, very poor. That was bringing up a lot for me. My mom was able to resume driving. Her health is stabilized. I really feel grateful that we got through that time and she's been able to maintain a lifestyle that works for her. Obviously, with aging, it comes with some downfalls, but the scare and the stress that we were under at that time, not an issue anymore. The other stressors that were going on last year included, we had more kids in the house. I lost my dedicated working space. I had to shift things around. It was a very stressful time, and I had no idea at that time what I could have done to take care of myself. And again, this is how we become educated and empowered HSPs. So if you find yourself in the middle of the holiday season and it's not working out and you're feeling stressed and you're feeling irritable, it's okay. Take a look at what's going on and think about what would have made it more manageable. And it gives you information for the next holiday event. And how can you tailor things so it works for you? Because is it worth it to have this, quote, hallmark event and we're tense and uptight and irritable and crabby? We don't enjoy it. It impacts the people around us, but we're doing things because this is what we've always done. For me, I'm willing to take the chance that people are going to be upset with me and for me to have some peace throughout the holidays, spend time with the people that are really important to me, and then create time when I can spend time with the other people and it's not under so much pressure and stress. These can be really challenging things, and we get to create what we want for the holidays. I know that not everybody's able to do that, but I think that there are some hacks and workarounds. So if you haven't listened to episode 47 with Jill Johnson Young, I would really suggest it. I'm going to see if I can slip in Sharon Martin's episode about how to have peace throughout the holidays. I think it might be episode 6, but I'm not sure. But I really would invite you to, if nothing else, even if you're not ready to make a change, to start thinking about what is it that you want the holidays to look like. If you celebrate Thanksgiving, if you're in Canada, I know you already celebrated it on October 14th. For whatever's coming up and you're not in a place where you're feeling able or ready to make changes, can you allow yourself just the room to think about what would it look like if you felt like you could manage it? Would you be going places? Would you be celebrating? Would you have the same amount of people over? Are there people you would not be including? Thinking about your budget. Are you spending as much on people or too much on people out of a sense of obligation? There's just so much that comes up for us, and I really want to encourage you to at least start thinking about what you would like it to look like so that we can create a different experience. We really do have control over some things. So how can we make those adjustments so that we have some peace over the holidays? I'm feeling a little bit torn about talking about gratitude. Gratitude is really important. We know that it can change the wiring on our brain. What we focus on is what we create more of. And I totally believe in gratitude. And what I know is when we find out that we're highly sensitive, when we're still doing a lot of the heavy lifting and the heavy work around it, when someone talks about gratitude, it can often feel really negating to the experience of, but I'm having big feelings. I'm having a lot of pain. I'm feeling loss. I'm feeling sadness. And when I would hear people talk about gratitude, what I heard was, it's not okay to be having the feelings you're having. You should put them aside and you should pretend to be happy and grateful. And so I've really hesitated to do much talk about gratitude, and I'm looking for some information about what happens to our brains when we focus on the things that are working. But I also think that there's a way that we can honor the feelings that come up. Because we're deep thinkers and deep feelers, we're just going to have more things that come up for us. But the more we learn to be okay with it and not fight it and push it down, we also don't have to get as stuck in it. And I don't know how to talk about this without sounding like there's a judgment of you're in it, you're out of it, you're stuck, you're not stuck. We just don't have the language for it. And what I know is what we focus on increases. So is there a way that if you're struggling, you're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling taxed, you're not feeling appreciated, that you can find a place to honor that and give that voice, and at the same time focus on the things that are going well? Because generally it's not one or the other, but because we have such deep feelings, when we get into that very, I want to say heavy emotional state, and I don't know how else to language it. I know for me that things can happen and I'm okay letting them go and letting them go and letting them go. And then something happens, just kind of rocks me. And then it's like I want to reach into the bag of injustices that have happened up until now. And now I'm upset about all those things that in the moment felt like it was okay to let go of. I don't know why this happens, but I think it happens for very many of us. And when we get overwhelmed, it's really hard to let go of those little things, and then that becomes our entire reality. And while we can be experiencing lots of stress and things that are not going well, there are always things that are going well, even if it's something simple like I took a shower today, I brushed my teeth. It's not a blizzard today. The temperature isn't freezing today. Whatever those things are, that things tend to go hand in hand, but we tend to be very black and white, so things are either great or they're miserable. What I would invite you to do is, if you're struggling and having pain around certain things, create room for that. That needs a voice. Those feelings need to be heard and expressed, and we need to work with them. And we can hold on to two things at the same time. Justine Folker talked about this in the episode, The Power of the And. So we can be having struggles and there are moments of bliss and joy. And are you able to hold space for both of those? So even if this is a really challenging season for you, is it possible to find moments of bliss? Is there a TV show that gives you joy? Did you hear a song that you heard joy? Do you have a pet that you just feel comfort with? Do you have a weighted blanket, and when you pull that weighted blanket up and you kind of settle down, that you feel hugged and held? I would encourage you to find a way to honor both of these things that are going on, because we're the only ones that are responsible for our well-being and happiness. And when we're doing our healing work, that can be really hard, but I really do believe that there's room for both of them. Okay. If you're enjoying this podcast, you can really help me out by sharing it with other people. If you're comfortable rating and reviewing it, that would be great. If not, if you can just share it, if you're comfortable sharing it on social media, I would really appreciate it. And now, on to the episode of how I lost my shirt on Thanksgiving. Hey there. It's the day after Thanksgiving. My misfortune is an episode for a podcast. And yesterday on Thanksgiving, if you've ever watched the Netflix show, The Good Place, they don't say swear words. So I'm going to tell you that I totally lost my shirt yesterday. And it wasn't my shirt that I lost. If you take out the R, that's what I lost in the biggest way that I have lost my shirt in years. It wasn't pretty. So in the morning, I was already feeling overwhelmed and stimulated. I've told you it's been a challenging week. I've got 3 boys in my house. I've had to relocate my office. I don't do change really well. I like my routine. There's just still continues to be a lot going on. So in the morning, we had the boys do some cleaning to get ready for Thanksgiving, and I'm still kind of worn out, so I'm in a little bit of a blaming mood. So I just want to own that. So my husband had the brilliant idea to have my son put on some very loud rap music to get him into the mood to clean. Now, if you're an HSP and your nervous system is already pretty frazzled, that is not calming to the soul. So it was really challenging. So I just popped my headphones in and tried to listen to something that worked. And after a while, when I realized how rattled I was, I asked my son if I could give him my wireless headphones so he could do his work. And we did end up working it out. But because I was already feeling so tense and irritable and frazzled, I've told you that I use Marco Polo. So I had gone to Marco Polo, my support system, and had already was joking about, I love noise. I love stimulation. I love when there's a lot to do. I like change. Joking because it was getting to me. Last night, I had to go take somebody to a medical appointment. I didn't get home till 9 o'clock. And I had been boiling the turkey neck and extra stuff on the stove for a couple of hours to add to the drippings from the turkey. And I left instructions with my husband. I set the timer for 2 hours. And, when the 2 hours went off, I wanted him to drain the neck and all the parts out of, what I was going to use for gravy, discard the neck and everything else, and then add it to the drippings in the fridge. So today, when everybody is at my house and I'm in the kitchen and I'm running behind because I'm not doing so great at time management right now, I go to pull the drippings out of the fridge and what I'm expecting to see, the rest of the stuff I'm going to use for the gravy. And there's the drippings and fat congealed in the chicken neck, bones, skin, just all this stuff. I lost my shirt. I said a handful of choice words. I just really lost it. And it has been a really long time since I have lost it the way that I lost it today. We realized once I started to figure out what I needed to do that we needed some milk. And I shouldn't even say this, my son's 18 years old, but he's like, is there anything you need me to get? I'm like, a new husband. I had such a huge reaction and I found myself wanting to stay really invested in being angry. And this is not typically how I operate. I know when I'm getting frustrated, I communicate pretty well, but I'll tell you, that was not the case today. I did go and poloed again to my support system, said that I get to be the word rhymes with itch and you add a B to it, that's the crown that I won today. And as we poloed back and forth, one of my friends said that she won the victim award for the day. So the day just is full of challenges for everybody, and really being able to talk about what was going on, to not have shame about it, to just be able to express what was going on, I think really helped to move through it. I did not move through it super quickly. My husband felt horrible. My reaction was a 10 to something that probably should have been a 4. And as I gave myself time to process through it, I did talk with him and I apologized. He felt terrible. Yeah, he felt really, really bad. In retrospect, my reaction was very damaging to him personally. I mean, he's going to live and he's fine, but I just have regret. And it's interesting because when I was still angry, for some reason he likes to buy packaged gravy every year, bottled or boxed or whatever you call it, gravy. And so we had his in a pan on the stove waiting to heat it up as I was fixing this other gravy. And, I told him, I'm like, I don't want you to have any of the homemade gravy. Like, you don't get to have any. And he's like, believe me, I'm not going to have any. And I was kidding. I was still upset. But, this really triggered something in him that I feel really bad about. So as we were talking and I was telling him, like, I just feel really invested in holding on to this anger and I'm having a hard time letting go. Then the tears started to come. And, I've just been under an incredible amount of pressure. There's been so much stress for well over a month now, and it's kind of coming at me from all angles. And it was not about the gravy. Like, it was so not about the gravy. So I cried and he held me and we talked and I apologized a number of times and he still felt terrible and I felt terrible that my losing it came out on him. And it was not about the gravy, and I apologized for creating, it can be traumatic for people to hear other people get angry, especially if we grew up with parents that were angry and we had a lot of yelling or swearing. And I don't want to create an unsafe environment. My boys are 18, they've heard it all, and I don't think that it shakes them up, but I did talk to them. And one of my sons, since he's been home this weekend, have not just been as connected with him and part of it. And I talked to him and I said, I'm feeling stressed to the max. And what happens is when the bank of mom is depleted and I feel like you're not making any deposits into the bank of mom and you're wanting to make withdrawals, that just doesn't work for me. So we talked a little bit about what that looked like. And I made it really clear that this was going on before he got home. But because it felt like once he got home, he was wanting to make more withdrawals from the bank of mom. And the bank of mom is pretty much out of money right now. And the bank of mom isn't about money. It's about emotional resources, time, well-being, contentment. So even though I use the money analogy with the bank of mom being out of money, I'm really talking about that sense of depletion. And if you want to make a withdrawal, you need to deposit some time, some energy, some investment. You got to give before you take. It just felt nice to be honest, to do some repair work for the kids that were here. I apologized, made it really clear that it had nothing to do with them. It was where I was at. I still was pretty frazzled today, and it was challenging having way more people in the house than I would choose. We had young kids in the house. I feel like I'm turning into that crabby old lady. I want to use the word acceptance, but it feels like it's tolerance. And I think because I'm becoming aware of my needs as an HSP, and I don't think I've been aware of them up until now. I think my way of managing has been to overeat. I just overeat and get numb and I kind of check out. I'm not doing that. I'm pretty aware and feeling how challenging it can be to have all of these things going on. I noticed even as the evening wore on and things happened, like I just wanted to go into blaming. I'm already a blamer. And we joke that if something's missing in the house, I'm like, where did you put my stuff? Where did you move my things? And then I find it. It's like, oop, I'm a blamer. One of my sons is like that too. So whenever that happens and he's blaming and then he finds it, I'm like, okay, so this is what you need to say. I'm a blamer. And he goes, I'm a blamer. I say, like my mother. He goes, like my mother. So again, this is how we deal with stuff in our household, that we joke about it, we talk about it, we laugh about it. It was kind of funny this morning. I had made an announcement before all this stuff happened that, I was being a B word. And I told you that my son's roommate is here from Korea, and I apologize for my, call it itchiness. And he didn't understand what that meant. I said, I'm just very crabby today, and I'm very sorry. It's okay, no problem. And what I know is this morning, probably at 7:00, a neighbor of mine texted me and said, I totally messed up something I was baking. Do you have 3 cups of sugar I can have? I'm like, totally fine. So I went over to her house and dropped some sugar off. And then this evening she said, I dropped the pie on the floor, totally ruined it, totally broke. We actually had an extra pie. So I'm like, hey, we have an extra pie from Costco if you need it. But I think they'd already left. And the point of me sharing that is, I am not the only one that had a hard time today. I know that it was a challenging day for a number of people for a number of reasons. If you are up to it, I would love to hear, what was your day like? Was it peaceful? Was it blissful? Did you not hang out with anybody today? Who lost their shirt? If you lost your shirt today and you feel like you can't control it, hey there. Well, hopefully your Thanksgiving will go a little bit more smoothly than mine did last year. And hopefully this year, my Thanksgiving will go much more smoothly than it did last year. And if it doesn't, it's just stuff that we deal with. We really don't have control, and we can do things to minimize stress and to try and make things work for us so that things like losing our shirt over the gravy don't happen. And if they do, then we use radical self-compassion. We apologize if we made a mistake. We do the best that we can. As we head into the holidays, I would really invite you to see if there aren't a handful of things every day that you can find that bring you a little bit of joy, a little bit of gratitude. These things are always there, and they can be very minor and simple things. It could be something as simple as a hot cup of tea, seeing a rainbow, seeing a flower that makes you happy. I don't know. They're just, I hate when I have to give examples. Anyways, I would encourage you to do that. I really hope that going into this week, you're feeling some peace, some gratitude. If you're feeling stressed, if this is not the way that you want things to be, that you can find some self-compassion. I really am grateful to each and every one of you. This has just been an amazing year, and I'm really very grateful that I can share it with you. I'm going to be playing clips from people that have taken the online HSP course. I know that it can be really difficult to make a decision about, is this really worth my investment? Do I want to spend the money? My intention is just to play some clips. I've done some video recordings with some of the people who just wrapped up the last online course. So here is Amber Lansford sharing a little bit about her experience in the course.
This is a different type of group than I've ever been in. I do prefer small groups, but I've been in big groups and I didn't have that this time. It was very different. So it just felt a lot kinder and everybody had a chance to talk and not one person dominated. So it was very different experience than I've ever had. This has just felt softer and connected. I have a handful of friends here that are in my town that are HSPs, but it's just one-on-one. We don't know each other as a group. So this is the first time I've been with a big group of HSPs.
If you're interested in getting any information about the online HSP courses, I'm going to be updating the website page over the next couple of weeks, but the basic information is there. You can go to unapologeticallysensitive.com. There's a tab for the HSP groups. I really hope you have a week that's just full of self-acceptance. Hopefully you're surrounded by things that give you comfort and love. Remember, sensitivity is nothing to apologize for. It's our superpower. Have a blessed day.